What's going on, folks? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. We're back with another live stream. We do this every single Tuesday, live hardware, electronic music, discussion, tutorials, that kind of stuff. As you can hear, I'm sound kind of sick because I am, which totally sucks. But regardless, my favorite thing to do is to live stream every Tuesday. This is absolutely my favorite thing, and I'm not going to skip it, whether I'm sick or not, because it's just too much fun. Today, what I wanted to talk about what's in the title here is how the M8 reminds me of the Octatrack, and I just want to show you a couple of examples of why this is the case, and show you this cool trick that I kind of stumbled upon the other day when I was doing a private lesson with somebody, and we were talking about dub techno, and which is one of my favorite music genres to work on, as I've probably mentioned a million times. And we were talking about doing that on the M8 tracker, and we were discussing limitations, but also cool things that you can do. And an idea popped in my head that I hadn't tried yet, and I want to share it with you today, as well as just kind of discuss overall what's so dope about the M8. But before I go any further, I want to mention that I am running the beta of the M8 tracker right now. So if anything weird happens, it could be because of that, but it likely isn't going to happen because the betas are they're pretty solid. But what's in this beta for the M8 tracker is insane. Multi-track streaming of audio, so you can multi-track right from your M8 tracker while still seeing the M8 tracker run live on your screen with the little app that you're able to use with your M8 tracker. Absolutely insane. And also you're able to access your M8's sample library or file structure directly over USB now through this new beta. It's pretty incredible stuff, and I have to say that the M8, this amazing little piece of equipment, is probably the best piece of music equipment that has come out in the last, I don't know, since the Digitact one, in my opinion. And every single year, there's more competitors to this device, and every single year, I would say that because the developer focuses on developing this piece of equipment, it gets better, and these other devices cannot keep up, despite it still being a Teensy 4.1 inside here. Totally insane. It's incredible. It is my number one pick. I would say if I was to do a top gear of 2025, I would say that this is the top piece of equipment from 2025. And was top piece of equipment from 2024, probably from 2023. It just continues to be that, and I really do mean that. There is, of course, some limitations and some reasons why you might use other equipment. There are definitely some really good reasons why I still use my Digitact 2 and my Digatone. I use my M8 with my Octatracks. My Octatrack is in everything that I do because I still think that is an extremely unique piece of equipment. But there's some really good reasons why you still use other pieces of equipment because they're different. The experience is different, the workflow is different, the sound is different. But overall, in terms of just features and development and price, build quality, all of that, I would still say the M8 tracker is number one. Just comparing it to others, like if you just went feature to feature, spec sheet, price, it just beats everybody. So if you don't have one already, I highly recommend you check it out. If you're not into trackers, I feel like you'll still probably enjoy it anyway because it has kind of a video game experience. So now I want to just show you a little trick, and this little trick is going to be kind of one of my arguments as to why the M8 tracker reminds me of the Octatrack so much. And I'll preface it by saying the Octatrack is the most flexible piece of equipment that you can buy in 2025, probably 2026, maybe even up to 2027. It's old now, and I'd have to say that it is still the most viable piece of equipment that you're going to have in your studio. It will continue to be viable because we reached a certain precipice in audio quality to where that doesn't matter as much anymore. Effects, yes, it's really great to have really cool effects. Like Toneverk is really like killing it with their awesome effects. They sound fantastic. Granular synthesis, stuff like that. Really important stuff, and it's great to have that in hardware. Push 3 sounds amazing. MPC Live 3, all this stuff sounds really great, but they're expensive. The workflow's not perfect on any of them quite yet, and ideas haven't been concreted by a large community over many years like it has with the Octatrack. The Octatrack, you can go online and there's 1,000 tutorial videos. There's 1,000 ideas that people have shared, concepts, cool tricks that people have learned. That's not something you're going to get in a new piece of equipment. It just doesn't work that way. Time doesn't work like that. So the Octatrack is just so good at that. The M8 Tracker is getting there too. And what makes them so unique to me and why I compare them to each other, despite them being vastly different units, even though they have some crossover in terms of feature set, is that there's a tool set given to you in the M8 Tracker. It presents itself to you in the same way. The Octatrack, you go and boot it up and you get nothing. You start with a blank slate and it expects you to understand how to use the device. It's a hard device to learn. It's deep. The manual is kind of hard to understand even at some points, like it uses its own language. The M8 Tracker doesn't use its own language. It's got its, it's a little bit more upfront with you about how it communicates. But the manual is insane. The manual is incredibly deep. It does everything. It's got like a million features. And again, it starts you with nothing, even though you can make a template and that will be your boot up process on your M8, which is not something the Octatrack can do or any other device that I own can do other than maybe a push 3. And yeah, other than that thing, which is gigantic, it expects you to know the device and that you're gonna have to work for it to get what you want out of it. And for somebody like me, I actually really like that. So that's how I want to preface this. And I'm gonna give you a demonstration really quick of an idea. So here it is, and I'll bring the little chat up so I can see what people are saying. I'm gonna use dub techno as the preface for this. This is going to be the genre that we're going to kind of play in today as I'm fooling around on stream. When you're working in like something like dub techno and you're working on say a Digitact or another device that uses send effects, Octatrack is excluded here because Octatrack has insert effects. Toneverk is excluded. Toneverk has insert effects. So both these devices already really good for making genres like dub techno. And here's why. Is because when you're making something like dub techno, one of the cool things that you'll listen to as you listen to reference tracks or just listen to some dub techno artists is that you'll hear that the delays have different times. They're not all set at like a dotted eighth note. You know what I mean? Some of them are set at a dotted quarter note, or some of them are at 16th notes, and all over the place, these different time variations of delays, they're really, really nice to listen to. The M8 Tracker only has one delay, but it gives you tools to kind of build your own delay, so to speak. And that's what I want to show off today to give you a demonstration as to why this device is so cool, because it gives you these unique tools to kind of come up with your own idea of how would you accomplish that goal. How would I create my own delays that sound like delays in the M8 Tracker? You can absolutely do this, and let's check it out. We'll do both. So we're going to do it from scratch, but I'm just going to give you a demo of exactly what I mean first. This is what is so sick about this unit is how good this sounds right here. So if we want to have our delays have different timings and we only have one delay and we don't necessarily want to send an effects command to the delay, which is not something you can do on all devices. Like say, I'm going to reference Electron stuff because I know a lot of people watching this are into live hardware, and Electron's like #1 in live hardware, I think. At least that's my experience of hosting and going to a lot of live hardware shows is, sometimes you get access to being able to lock in different parameters on your delay time. On the Toneverk, absolutely can do this. It's the newest tech. It does all these cool stuff. So that's a good device to make dub techno on, straight up. And the Octatrack also lets you do this because the Octatrack has insert effects. But your Digitact and your Digatone, neither of them have insert effects. They both have a delay, and you can't even send any values to the delay to change the delay. It is just locked in. It just is what it is. You'd have to use a MIDI controller to actually do that, and a MIDI controller with a sequencer if you wanted it to actually change on a per step basis. So which makes it just basically unviable. Honestly, like you're just not going to end up doing it because it's too inconvenient. Now, that similar thing happens on the M8 Tracker, but there's tricks. So one of these cool things the M8 has on it, which is probably the most daunting thing, is called a table. Tables on M8 Trackers are probably the least used thing by people who are new to the M8 Tracker. It's kind of I don't know. It just makes it tough because they're weird. It's weird. It talks about table tick and stuff like that. What does that mean? You have to go into the manual to understand what it means. I do want to draw a comparison for those folks who are on Electron. Tick rate is something that Electron uses to calculate its timing. I'm not going to go into the weeds on how tick functions because I don't actually have a great way to say it to you. But I can tell you that when you set the table tick to 6, you get 16th notes. And so your BPM and your tick rate will just make sense on the resolution of your timeline. You get 16 steps in your chains on the M8, and if your tick rate is 6, the table will also move in 16th note intervals. Now, what's really cool, and this was a feature that was added, I think maybe in 25, but maybe it was 2024 on the M8 tracker, was that you could change your table tick rate, which is the sequencer within a step. So your table is like a little mini sequencer that cycles, or an LFO almost, that you can program to do stuff on a per step basis, essentially. So every time a step happens, the table will reset its value. You can do all sorts of stuff to make it do different things or to move to different tables. You have lots of different tables, and a new one is created every time you create a new instrument, or a new one is assigned to your instrument that is associated with the same instrument number. So if I'm in instrument 1, I'm going to be using table 1. But it doesn't mean that you have to use table 1 with instrument 1. You can do all sorts of stuff, much like the Octatrack. This is another reason why the Octatrack is such a great comparison to this device. But let me just show you this sound really quick. I have a tendency to just talk at the very beginning of stream when people want to hear some sounds. Check this out. This is not a delay. Let's go into the instrument real quick. All right, let me turn this delay off entirely. Do you still hear delay? Because I sure do. It sounds like a dub delay. This is not a dub delay. This is a table and a tick rate of that re-triggers with every retrig. And I'm using retrig to make a delay. So I'm going to walk you through this process and why this is really cool. And this is something you can do, not just for dub techno. You can do this for also IDM stuff. This is going to be amazing if you want to use this to unlock new tricks with like making IDM or grabbing random samples from a break that you've chopped so that you always have a new break. You can do this with the same idea. Let me just play this whole thing for you so you can hear all the different delay times, even though we are not using the delay. You saw I turned delay off entirely on the instrument. There are no delays, but it sounds like delay. Does that not sound like we've got a dub delay? No delays happening here. Purely envelopes, retrigs, table values, and panning programmed to sound like a delay for this instrument. And I can program and change my delay time anytime I want by changing my retrig tick value. All right. For those of you who have not used an M8 tracker, this is going to be so far over your head that you're just going to have to just grind through and watch this process from scratch so that you can understand what's going on. So I'm gonna save this because it's a good dub intro. We'll call it dub start, and then we'll just go to a blank pattern and do this from scratch. I just want to show you how cool the M8 tracker is and how it lets you just come up with any idea you want. You know, there's limitations, of course, so let's do it. Brand new. We got nothing going on here. I'm going to rebuild that same concept. Shout out to GeoPet, who is a buddy on Patreon who did a lesson with me, and their discussion is what brought me to this conclusion. So shout out to you for asking cool questions. All right, so I'm going to create a new phrase in my M8 tracker. I'm just going to grab an instrument. There's all sorts of great instruments for making chords, which is something we discussed on another stream not too long ago. But we're going to use the hypersynth because it's really easy to do that. I'm going to remove a couple oscillators on here. And since we're doing a dub thing, I'm just going to keep it real simple. We're going to get a minor triad, which is the essential dub sound. So let's just go ahead and get that minor triad going. And there it is. And there's nothing like having it be real wide because this sounds super sick. We can give it a little swarm to detune those oscillators if we want, and we're not going to use any shift. Let's bring this up. All right, so it's just playing. Like, this is it. This is what I mean by like similarity to the Octatrack. No hand holding, no default value. I mean, there's some default values in Electron that kind of in the newer boxes especially, but there's a lot less hand holding going on here. Recliner, thanks so much for the tip, my friend. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's keep going. We got our minor triad. I moved it up an octave so it sounds a little bit better. Let's assign some envelopes and make it sound like a pluck, right? A plucky. We can do all sorts of stuff to make dub chords. There's so many variations, but really it's the minor triad and it's these delays that are the most iconic thing about like a dub thing, right? So let's go into our envelopes. I'm gonna assign the volume. We can use an AHD, which is an attack hold decay, which is better for samples usually. ADSR is usually what you use for a synthesizer. I really don't mind using the attack hold decay for a lot of things, especially if I'm using just basically decay, which is what I'm going to be doing for this particular patch. So I'm just going to use the AHD envelope for this. And now we have, you know, some silence after our pluck from our chord. We could give it some attack to make it have like that suction sound that I love so much too, which is really cool. But we're gonna stick with, you know, something like this for now. I'm gonna apply this to the filter. So I'm gonna target another envelope to the filter cutoff, and I always do this. Go back in here and turn my filter on. I really like this ZDF low pass filter, which I think is like a zero crossing filter. Somebody want to tell me exactly what that means. I'm forgetting now. Okay, so there's too much. There we go. Can make it a little pluckier. Awesome, right? Okay, cool. Let's put this down on the offbeat. All right, so here's where we get into the cool thing that the M8 can do. We're gonna go in here and like by default, you see it says table tick 01. This is gonna be the fastest tick rate, which is derived off of the BPM. So this is real fast. So if we go into our table, right here, we're in table 01. Look, watch how fast this table runs. Real quick. It's speeding along. The higher the tick rate, the slower this table is gonna run. So if I bring this up to 6, it's gonna move at 16th notes. Check that out, right? And it resets. Oh, it's running all the way through because we're at a 16th note variation in the first place with our chain, so it's not going to really see that. But if I put another note in here just to demonstrate it so you can really see, it'll just keep resetting, right? Kind of like an LFO with the phase being reset on each trig, which is an option here. We can also use LFOs to do that. We could actually just leave this just like it is because this is going to be a great way for us to keep working moving forward. So we've got this little rhythm with our minor triad. And what I want to do is actually change the table tick rate to 0. So as you see, it says table speed note increment down at the bottom there. This is what's really cool. Let's take a look at the table again. Look at what the table's doing. Now let's use our octave brains. Let's use our music brain real quick and think about what this means to you. What does it mean if every time a note is triggered? Am I really losing my right ear? Hold on a second. This headphone issue has just been driving me insane. So if we have, oh wait, no. My bad. You all were having the same issue as me. I thought it was my headphones. Sorry. That was my jack got loose. There's a lot of cables that's going under the table. It's going really far. Okay, so let's go back to my point. Don't let me embarrass myself any further. Think about what you can do if every single time an instrument is re-triggered, a value somewhere else with 3 different effects values. This could be filter cutoff changes. This could be reverb sense. This could be note changes, velocity changes. There's so many. Any effects command you could possibly do, you could put in here, and we could have it change every single time, 16 steps maximum currently, to change a value. This could be a randomization feature, whatever you want. This is what table 00 does. So the options that you have here are crazy. Imagine if it was an oscillator randomization and you're in the macro synth. Suddenly we're on a different entire synthesis style, but with the same note value. You can do that here. If you want to change to a different wave table or a different position in a wave table, you can do that here. You could have it randomize that. If you want to have a different filter cutoff at every time, you can do that here. This is the kind of stuff that you can get super creative with on the M8 tracker. And again, reminds me of the Octatrack because there's all this customization where it's like, there's no rules. Do whatever you need to do to make your music. I love it. I love it so much. So check this out. If I put in, let's put 2. We're going to make a dub delay, right? We're going to specifically build a dub techno delay that I'm able to control the time anytime I want. That way I have a send delay that I can use on top of this. And I also have this ability to have this chord change on every step that I want. So I'm going to put in a hop command, and I'm going to send this hop command. What the hop command lets you, when the cursor hits the hop command, it can go to different spaces in your lane. And I'm going to use the hop 00 command, and that will send us back to the top. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to put it on 2 different rows because we're going to do 2 different things. One of these commands, I'm going to do the pan. So I want, each time this note gets triggered, I want it to hard pan left, hard pan right. So we're going to put in 2 pan commands, 1 pan left, 1 pan right. So pan, we're going to go -128. And then this next pan command is going to be the exact opposite, +127. Here we go. You can kind of see where I'm going with this already, right? All right, so let's adjust this. It's too much. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so we have something kind of resembling it so far. If we get some reverb, give it some space. All right, it's not quite a delay yet, so let's get into that. I mentioned to you before that table tick 00 moves the table cursor down on a per step basis, and it gets triggered every time the instrument is triggered on the sequencer. It starts to move down this sequencer. This is really good. This is like one of my favorite ways to use a table. We can put other values in here, like say we maybe want the filter cutoff to get adjusted. Let's go here and go to cut. And we could just give a little relative positive filter cutoff here on this one. And on this one, we'll have it maybe go the other direction. A little bit of closing of the filter cutoff. That sounds pretty nice. That might even be too much right there. All right, so let's get into the cool part here. Now, every time I use the re-trigger command, it is now going to act like a delay for us, because I'm going to have the re-trigger command bring the velocity down 7 ticks on every retrig that happens, which will make it sound like it is decaying off in the distance. We go to ret, and we're going to go volume -7, and now this tick rate represents our delay time. So let me get rid of this one really quick so we can hear this. If I set it to 12, we should get like a triplet. I mean, honestly, the first time I tried this, I was so impressed, my mind exploded. Check that out. No, we're not using a delay. It continues to blow my mind that I was able to build this sound, and it sounds so good. It sounds so much like a dub delay. And we can change the delay time by just increasing the tick rate. And I can make it a shorter delay. Is this not amazing to you? Because it's amazing to me. I was like, this has now become like the ultimate little dub techno device, because I can literally just do this. I mean, that is nice. So what we can do is we can let's just clone this phrase a few times, or make new variations of it. And in each one of these variations, we can change this tick rate to something different. I'm holding Option and pressing up and down lets you jump through these phrases real quickly without having to leave the menu. And this last one will make it go like quick. Let's have a listen to these 4 phrases. Now, if we had something that's just going on the 1 or going on a straight beat, it's going to sound really nice with these like triplet delays that are changing, and they're also being triggered on the offbeat. We can go in and get a new get a new phrase, get a new instrument. I'll pull up a sampler and just grab one of my favorite drums, drum packs. I kind of like that, and then I'll just like low pass it. It should work pretty good as a dub kick. How dare you? All right, let's throw a little low pass filter on this sucker. Let's also change the tempo. Let's do 128. This is an easy one. Someone, Warzone victory wins. Sounds like the Octatrack parts. Great comparison. It is kind of like the Octatrack parts, except for you get way more of them. So instead of having 4, you have 128. And it works a little bit different, but that is a good comparison. So we could find different, like, rhythms. Like that rhythm might work a little bit better a little later. We just change our tick rate. I love it. I love it so much. And what's cool about this is like I can have filter cutoff on a left ear, right ear scenario. So like I could make this this be longer and we could have more variation. So if I bring these hops down here and we just duplicate this, we can change this, and we could change the stereo field with our pan and change our filter cutoff amounts, you know, and kind of invert them if we want. It's so cool. We're literally building a delay from scratch using the retrig command and this table. I do feel like this argument I'm making on how cool the M8 is hopefully convincing. I liked it better when I had less there we go. I like that better. Now we could actually add delay to it. That's pretty cool. Oh, man. I just love this genre so much. Let's go over to our hi-hat track, which is always 3 for me. I need to hear a hi-hat on this for right now, or I'm gonna freak out. Oh, that one delay is absolutely gangster. Let's get our hats. Oh yeah, hat 5 is a winner. Chicken dinner. We gotta make it kind of quiet. How cool is that? Hopefully one day we get an M8 tracker with a new teensy, so that I mean, I love the effects on here, but I would love to have a reverb that has more diffusion than this one. But it's so expensive on CPU, like I totally understand. I understand why things are the way they are. I'll make this a little louder for y'all. Is it this one? Sounds so good combined with the delay, the actual delay. What time is it? It's the one that's set on 16th notes, I think. Yeah. That sounds so good with that combo. This one gets a little weird combined with the actual delay. So maybe we use the delay effect send and we turn the delay off for this trigger so that we don't have that like muffled gross sound. Let's just bring the send, the delay down to nothing. Wait, what did I pick? What command did I pick? Yeah. Yeah, that's doing what I wanted to do. Okay, cool. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. I can build as many of these instruments as I want. They have their own table, their own values. I don't have to stick with the hypersynth minor triad. I could, well, I'm stick with a minor triad because I'm doing dub techno, but I could use the FM synth. I could use the macro synth. It has a bunch of different triple oscillator modes, and it also has a chord mode in it. And I can find the minor triad there, or build the minor triad in the FM synth. There's lots of different options for getting this. It'll be paraphonic, mind you, so it's not a polysynth, but I could also just use a minor triad sample and do this exact same concept on top of that sample, because filters on top of filters sound great in this genre, which I, also admire, that it makes good use of my sample library. But let's get a little bass line going so I can enjoy this even further. Give me that sine and size. So if you turn the size up, it gives you a higher bit rate. It's still like, you can hear like this is meant to be like kind of a lo-fi synth. Actually, a good synth would be to use the FM for this. Yeah. I love using this algorithm. I mean, this is the algorithm that you use on the FM synth to build. This is a very powerful synthesizer. Here's another reason why, another comparison. Comparing it to the Octatrack, the Octatrack is the only instrument I've ever used that has given me such freedom, other than the Push 3, which is just an Ableton box. But besides that, like an instrument on the table that is, all-inclusive, the Octatrack is the only thing that's ever given me that pure freedom to do whatever I want, design whatever concepts I want, which is why I make all these performance templates on the Octatrack. I'm currently in the process of making a new one right now, which I'm really enjoying. That's what's loaded in my Octatrack at the moment. So you can check that out on my Patreon if you want. Is that this FM synth, I like to think of FM synths as not just like when you think of FM, you think of DX7, you think of like these crystalline sounds or these harsh noises or electric pianos. I like to think of FM synths as just complex oscillator synthesizers. That is what this engine is. This is the most powerful synthesizer engine in the M8 Tracker. It's a 4-op FM synth, but it allows you to use each one of these operators as a wavetable. They all have wavetables. And it says FB to scan. That's feedback. Use feedback to scan the wavetable. So this is actually, in this current format, using this algorithm, A plus B plus C plus D, is giving me 4 oscillators with their own wavetables in them. That's incredible. The only thing about it is, is it's not going to be very polyphonic if I go nuts with that. I can do polyphony. I can do 4-note polyphony here. So we can do our 7ths, 9ths, and 11ths. Well, mostly. I mean, we can do really good 7ths for sure. But it's pretty cool. But it gives us a really nice sine wave, which is fantastic for our bass sound. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to volume. We don't need anything else currently. And we're just doing a minor triad, so it's more like about a rhythm here than anything. We could also play with the fifth, but that's like maybe too much going on right here. Right now we're just working at 4 bars. I like having a little bit of a break between my bass notes when I'm doing dub. That sounds pretty good. I mean, it's just silly how easy it is to get into a tight spot. Look at the USB drive and settings. This is just too cool. Too cool for me. But it doesn't have to be a sine wave. It just sounds good with this genre. We could switch it up. Man, it just works so freaking well. It's just insane to me. Okay, maybe we need another delay chordal sound. Maybe like a one that's got like the, you know, a long attack and like that lovely suction sound that you can get. Let's get another instrument going. Let's maybe try a different synth for it. Maybe we use the macro synth. Triple saw? Something with is there a triple vowel? Because a vowel synth would be really nice. If anybody knows, let me know. If I'm missing something. Wave line? The Wave Paraphonics got some... Take a look at this. I want to point at my computer screen and be like, look where I'm pointing. If you can see my mouse, oh, you can't see my mouse. Look at the keyboard in the bottom right corner. Well, what do you know? Did we find our little minor triad? We sure did. Oh, there we go. Hold on, let me see if I can find another spot with it. They're both kind of the same. Mate is already over 900. Yeah. Man, when I've picked mine up, my first M8 was 450 USD, brand spanking new when I picked the M8 up from the shop. Oh, how life has changed in such a short period of time. Sadly. I love that how hollow this sounds. Perfect for these dubby sounds. Let's have it be like a real longer chord. Minor 7. I don't know if that really belongs. Oh, there we go. That sounds good. For this one, we could just use the actual delay. We don't want it to play all the time. We just want it to be like an accent sound. So we'll use a 0 phrase and just kind of like throw this down every now and then. Maybe clone it, make a variation. Not a bad idea, right? Mm-hmm. 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 And maybe here we will... What do we want to adjust? We could adjust the timbre. Oh, that sounds great. Let's assign an LFO or an envelope, maybe? To the timbre. Whoa. Ugh. That sounds pretty sick. Oh no, it changed the color. Oh, there we go. That's a good thing to modulate. Maybe on this one it's real short. I guess if it's that short, that's too short. Let's just really crank up the delay on that particular one because it's so short, so we can really hear it. We also want to, like, you know, we don't want all these ones to sound the same, and we assigned an envelope to the timbre control, which is moving through a wavetable. If you didn't notice, it sounds like a wavetable. It is a wavetable, unless I'm a fool, which is very possible. I am a fool. So we can have each one of these hits sound vastly different. Which I really like. Let's make this one a little more unique too. Maybe even go up an octave. Yes. Let's kill that one for that though. There's the rhythm right here. Listen to this rhythm. If we highlight everything and go shift play, it'll just play this section over and over again, kind of like page loop on Electron. Oh, it's that stop note on the after the D sharp 3, but it's got like this accent feeling, even though it's silence. Feels really good. Honestly, I feel like I just kind of want to take. This is something that happens to me a lot. Whoops. Get chatty for a second. When I get to I'll get to a certain spot in the music production where I'm like, oh, that just sounds really good. And I have other things written that I put time into that they just don't sound as good as this maybe random thing I bumped across, kind of like this right here, where I just want to go, I'm going to wipe everything else and just use this one segment and just rebuild everything from there. That's kind of what I'm feeling right now. This happens to me a lot in all my music production, whether it's on the M8 or Electron stuff. Happens all the time. Maybe you relate to that. I don't know. But I do want to know if you do. Let's copy these phrases really quick before I move forward. Excuse me. Christmas to me, right? Sick as a dog. The tradition in my household, which is an odd one for the holidays, is that I dress up as Santa Claus for my entire family, including my siblings who are older than me, or my sibling, my brother. But I feel like my nephews and stuff are gonna not be fooled by me because I'm gonna sound like trash. Ah, it really is the 0C phrase chain is just too good. I feel like it's just. Let's save this really quick. We'll call it Xmas dub. I want to hear how this, what 0C sounds like. Let's clear this one at the very beginning of the phrase. Oh. Okay, I feel like there is a rhythm in there that doesn't go as well at the very beginning. Boom, boom. There we go. Let's kill that one, put the 0D in there. All right, we got a nice little bass line happening here. We're not even using the filter. I don't know why there's a little click in there. Maybe it's this. Sounds kind of mogy. It's a nice sawtooth. Fortunately, that little click doesn't sound too bad to me. Kind of sounds. All right, we're making dub. We gotta do the right stuff. Let's put this phrase over here and the 16th note pattern in dub techno for like this jingly hi-hat shaker thing always sounds so good. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Congos and bongos. Congos. I'm not gonna find what I want in that folder. What am I doing? Some good sounds for me to use. Let's get back to our hat folder, but those are some good sounds for sure. Maybe what we do actually, what am I doing? Hold on. Maybe what we do is we let's go like this and make this 6. And then we use this as our 16th note. And give it some modulation. Manual modulation here. And then we'll do an envelope or a LFO on the decay. And we'll also put a decay envelope on the instrument itself. And now we'll use an LFO just to the volume, or no, to the decay. Wait, can I not do that? I guess I can't do that, can I? I could do it in a table, though. Let's do it to the volume. Trig, retrig. All these different LFO shapes. I mean, that works. Just get some random velocities. And I kind of want to put this, like, we have a bunch of EQs. We have filters, we have EQs. There we go. Sounds nice. Just me, or is that hi-hat heavily on the right? Mm-hmm. All right, let's play with that decay envelope. What's really fast is you just go to the decay envelope, hit the edit button, and then we go back to our sequencer, and that will be the next command that we put in. We can build an actual organic sounding hi-hat pattern. All right, so 3 now, 4, I'm sorry, 4, the reason this sounds a little funky is we haven't put our offbeat hat in yet. We're gonna get a ride for that. Oh, that's gonna sound good once I throw like a bandpass on it. Give it 8 bars. bass down a little bit. It was a little strong. We could try putting some OTT on this. Really brings out those hats, huh? Really brings out those cymbals. They need to be brought down a lot. Oops. So if we were to like do some sort of arrangement, we could try and do that. Let's start with our chord, maybe, and just let people listen to this lovely chord. Or would it be this one maybe we want to do first? I don't know why I did that. Yeah, let's get our kick in there. And then, or maybe we get that bass in next. Yeah. You gotta love this workflow, right? So what we're doing right now is a lot like what you would do. Excuse me. What you would do on like an Electron Digitact or something. Say you were building this production out on a Digitact. So you could totally make what I'm making now on a Digitact. No doubt. Digitact 2 especially. Fantastic. Best sampler ever, in my opinion. You would like write a whole pattern. You would complete your whole pattern, right? You just like write the best pattern that you can. And then you copy, paste, iterate, copy, paste, iterate. And that's just a little bit different than what you do on, you do copy, paste, and iterate on the M8 tracker, but because of the perspective that you see on it, you can just kind of just jump right into song mode in your brain speaking, you know, thinking that way. You have a song mode on the Electron stuff, but it's so different. Like it looks a little similar because it is a vertical line that it reads, but it doesn't show you all of what's happening, that top-down perspective, which I think, I just think the way that we're wired, at least the way I'm wired, it just makes it easier for me to like start writing out it into a song format. Whereas on the Electron one, it just doesn't feel as natural as it does here to do song format kind of music. That's just my thought on that's my thought on the matter. So we could take our kick drum again, and then we could take this cymbal for our next couple of bars, and we could throw our, we could actually take this one out. And then bring them all in together. Oops, grab 3. And now we have like kind of a little song. Let's check it out. We don't have any of the accents and stuff that you would add to it, like these, like a noise buildup would be really good. And And we have instruments that do that. We could do a noise sweep that kind of happens and leads up to this kick drum that's about to come in. I think like if I clone this, all we gotta do is clone this and take this up. Yeah. Actually, maybe here we don't use that. And that's when we bring it all in. Not bad for an hour, right? An hour of sitting down, making music, making something that actually sounds good, I think. Of course, it's my opinion, subjective, but I think it sounds good. We did this in an hour while I was discussing it with you. Just goes to show how quickly we could have actually done this if I wasn't even talking, if I was just sitting down to make this song. I could probably have done this in 15 minutes as opposed to an hour. Really fast workflow. And because it's, the workflow is defined by how you approach the device and how, really, it's the workflow. You design the workflow. That's what I love about it. And that's what reminds me of the Octatrack so much. And of pieces of equipment that just like start you with a blank slate and give you all these tools and say, hey, make some music. It was kind of like going into Ableton, going into Bitwig, really, I think. Bitwig's a great example of it, where it gives you so many tools and so many options in this blank slate that you're just like, oh my God. It's daunting in the computer because it's overwhelming amount of stuff. But I think like when you're in like the hardware zone and you get given that gift, the gift of exploration, but it's like kind of a walled garden, the way that the M8 tracker is, the way the Octatrack, just the way that hardware electronic music is in general. It's kind of like there's rails around what you're able to do. There's some rules about that. Even the Push 3 has its rules, right? You can't use VSTs. You can't use every max for a live device. You can't use the arrangement view, right? You can use the session view. So like there's even rules in that device, but there's something about having these rules. They push you to do certain things, right? And I think this is common knowledge in why we use hardware for music production and why there's an obsession with it. I have an obsession with it. I love it. I love finding these little tool sets, and they're like, you can make whatever you want. Here's the tools to do it. I'm not going to give you every single tool because they're maybe not all, maybe the developer doesn't think they're important, or maybe, although there's some companies like Teenage Engineering that drives me insane when it comes to this stuff. But even their stuff, like the OPXY, I actually love that instrument, even though it frustrates me, but it sounds crazy cool. It does really cool stuff. It gives you, kind of this walled garden scenario, and so does the M8, but it gives you enough tools where you can build other things. It also reminds me of another thing called Shield Tracker. If you haven't checked this out, you can download Shield Tracker. It's actually made by a buddy of mine. And you can put it on your Steam Deck. And if you're a gamer, I have a Steam Deck. I love my Steam Deck, despite not using it very much. But you can put Shield Tracker on it. And inside of Shield Tracker, you can actually code. It has its own language. You can code your own concepts, kind of like you would build a scene in the Octatrack. You'd be like, well, I'm going to use an LFO to, add tremolo here, but I'm going to have it, this LFO is going to be retrigged from the beginning of the sequencer, but this LFO is going to not, it's going to run freely, and you can kind of build your own ideas, right? And different insert effects, all that kind of stuff. It's like you can build a scene in Shield Tracker. You can literally build whatever you want. You can build a new instrument. As far as I understand, it's like, you have to have coder brain, which I don't necessarily have, but I like that. I like when you get given, there's some rules about what you can do, but also here's ways to break the rules, but you got to be clever. And it kind of forces you to make stuff you wouldn't normally make. I really enjoy that experience. I think it brings back a sense of exploration that I feel like I lose when I'm at my computer often, despite the computer offering you the most tools and the most exploration, there's kind of this inverse reaction that I have to it because I'm so distracted by my computer. And that's really what it is. It's, for me, it isn't the DAW is a problem. I love my DAW. I love DAWs. Like, they're great. They're the best, honestly. I always think of them as the best. Like, if I could enjoy them more, I would use it explicitly. But I can't. I just can't. I'm incapable of it because I'm so easily distracted by politics or Google or whatever. And I sit at my computer and those things are there. They're just waiting for me. I get to ignore them and play with my machine and make music the same way I do when I sit on the couch with the guitar. There's just nothing else for me to do but make music. And that's why I love hardware electronic music. That's also why I love the M8, because it has this fantastic display and it does this. I think somebody mentioned in the comments, like, are you using a special app? I am using the M8 display, which is actually a thing that the M8 does. And you go to the M8 website, and Google, or Chrome rather, lets you save web pages as applications. And so, like, I just pull up my M8 Tracker app. It's actually just always running. And that's what you're seeing, is just a screen capture of a window. But it actually has the options to, like, send audio and stuff right through this. But you can actually see this, you can use this perspective, and also you can multi-track with this current beta at the same time, which is absolutely bananas. Yeah, so can it make us sound like a three? Oh yeah. Jesse Hooms, what's up, man? Jesse. Jesse Hoomst here was my coworker at the synth shop. All hail the Hoomst. Yes, it can sound like a 303. You gotta be kidding me. This thing does 303 like crazy. In fact, Mikey303, who works with Dirty Wave, has a sound little pack that comes with your M8, and it's got some, it literally has like the transient from the 303 within the instrument, plus it as a single cycle, I think, or at least something like that from an actual 303. It sounds killer. It sounds insane. So yes, it can do 303 extremely well. It can do everything. It doesn't sound like a poly synth, even though you can do poly synth ideas. Like, for instance, if you did want to do a poly synth, what you would do is you would, do a single note here, a single note here, a single note here, a single note here, and you could do polyphony the same way you would. And if you have another M8 tracker, you can actually have one M8 tracker control another M8 tracker in like this MIDI polyphony mode that it comes, and you can do, you can have one be a poly synth and one be your M8. Pretty wild stuff. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this demonstration on the M8 Tracker, and you learned a little bit something about tables, and you learned a little bit about the creativity that comes with being able to use table tick 00, which is basically a second step sequencer that you can control from your retrig on your steps. You can send all sorts of values in there, and you combine those two items together, and you get this amazing, I don't know, just a second powerful sequencer. I don't even know how else to describe it, but it is incredible, and it sounds incredible when you make stuff like this. This is the dub techno chord, not using any delays, which I find very impressive that it was able to do this so well. Reason B, do you perform with two M8s? I perform with one M8. I do have two of them, but it's just because I'm a glutton. But I did buy a second one for that explicit reason. One for melody, one for drums. Happy holidays, Rustic. What's up, man? Let me answer some questions, then I'm gonna let y'all go, or just respond to the chat, and everybody can go on their merry way with their holiday and have a great time. and hopefully not get sick like me, which I got sick because of my kid, but because of somebody else's kid getting sick. Blame the kids. How small is that font? I don't know. No idea. The Octatrack puts syrup on your pancakes. The M8 puts butter. What's up, Jeffrey? I should have guessed that was Jeffrey. That was a nice one. Leviathan, nice. There are use cases for it. Are there? Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Tell us without delay. Well played, Bite-Sized Society. Happy Christmas Eve, Easy Crew. What's up, Rolly? Thank you for that. I don't like how the buttons are sticking out, but a case would solve that. You do like that. I don't know. Do you have an M8? Because I think you would not like it if it didn't do that. It would not feel good, I think. It would feel bad. To me, it would feel bad. Ticks equals how long between each step in the table, smaller values, less time, so it's basically a delay between steps. That's a good way of, thank you for explaining it that way. That was well worded. Your name was almost Ticks. Anyway. Oh, perfect. Apropos. Missed the intro. What's the trick we're looking at? What the trick we did today was that I was showing you table tick 00, but ultimately I was showing you how to build dub delays without using the delay so that you could have a different delay time on every single chord hit. And we took full advantage of that. It worked really well. This is something I stumbled upon, or the idea I stumbled upon, probably not the first person to do it, but the idea that I stumbled upon this week. Sorry that the M8 was low. Man. Why didn't somebody text me? Let's turn it up for this last session here, for part of the session. This is what we made today. Those chords are not using the delay, which is really cool. Bite-Sized Society, that was correct. That is what I presented. I used trackers for years and years, way back in the day. Will I be at home with this device? I think so. I mean, it's not going to be a tracker. Yes, I mean, it's LSDJ, if you're familiar with LSDJ, but it's not going to be, it's the polyN tracker. You're bringing up a good point. There are other trackers out there. There are more worlds than these, as Jake would say, before he falls off into a pit. The polyN tracker, I'd say, resembles classic trackers more than the M8. I think the M8 has more features, it's faster, but the polyN tracker has more features too. They have different feature sets. Yeah, they have different feature sets is the best way I can put it. But that, I think if you're really familiar with the older trackers, the polyN tracker is probably going to hit closer to home. Whereas I think if you're like LSDJ, you're going to find more in common with the M8 tracker. I think if you're coming from Electron, you'll find more in common with the M8 tracker than the polyN tracker. But if you're a hardcore tracker fan, the M8 track or the polyN tracker might be the one for you, and not the M8. I have them all. I have 2 polyN trackers and 2 M8 trackers. So if that tells you anything, I like them both. It's a pure tracker. You will absolutely be at home. I agree. Modmania. 24 PPQ baby. 6 equals the 16th note. Thank you. Yes, I should have known Quasar would have the answer. I appreciate that. I actually didn't know that. I didn't think about that. Here's where I struggle with the M8. What is the best way to correct the loss of volume of the AHD cutoff? What are you talking about? What do you mean? It's J-Dub. What do you mean, brother? You can go ahead and say more about that. Do we know why 6 equals 16? No, Quasar answered that. Sounds like Octatrack parts. Yeah, we talked about that, which was a good point. The M8 can have different track lengths due to how chains and phrases work. You have 3 effects lanes in the M8 versus the tracker. Sampler has lots of destructive effects to apply to the sample. Yes. Is it software? No. It is using a web app just to show the display, but it is not software. Trying to sell your polyend for an M8. I can't say there's anything wrong with that. I think I've talked to a bunch of people that sold their M8s for the polyend. I'm not a one way or the other. I think they're both great. I prefer the M8 myself because I like the 3 FX lanes and the tables. And you don't have tables on the polyend. Allocate voices to the 3 synth tracks. The synths are always active. It's kind of weird. D0 beats. Me and Gigi Blaps were just talking about this yesterday with double tempo groove 0C to give you 12 ticks per doubling resolution. Yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with the tables. And we spent an hour and we could go another hour and we could EQ the crap out of this. We could make this sound like an extremely polished track and then we can multi-track it. There's just so many options. Like you just mentioning, you can change the groove to 0C and it'll give you 12 ticks for doubling the resolution. That's crazy, right? That's really cool. You can also get into polymetrics that way. Then you can use the RMX command to resync all of your tracks if you're using polymetrics from another phrase, because the phrases are 16 steps long, even though you can shorten them with certain commands to make them reset. But technically, they're 16 steps. But you can use a groove to change how the value of a tick so that a phrase is moving at a different rate so that it moves at a polymetric rate or a triplet rate or something like that. I guess triplet would be polymetric. Or polyrhythm, I guess, would be a triplet. Trash 80 just released a USB multi-out. Yeah, that's what we're talking about at the very beginning here. I'd be down to buy one. Yeah. Well, I think everybody should buy one. Support Dirty Wave, support the M8 tracker. Matthew, what's your favorite OT template for the M8? My favorite OT template for the M8 is either the hybrid 4x4 template, which is the newest one that I came out with, or the HyperFX template. The HyperFX template, I think, I built the HyperFX template. I made 64 effects explicitly for the M8 tracker. So that's what this, let's just scoot the camera over here. You can see my Octatrack here. I have this magnetic overlay that actually one of the folks in the chat, Jeffrey, helped me make that happen. All of them, he helped me make that happen for all the Octatrack templates that I have. So thank him for that. But the HyperFX template is single bus resampling effects, filters, distortions. But the reason why I built it in the first place for the M8 was because, well, now that we can multi-track your computer, there might be some other cool ideas that we could come up with. I'm not sure how multi-tracking would work with something like a push 3 or, I don't know. I haven't tried it with anything, but I haven't tried it yet, to be honest. So maybe there's some cool things we could do with that, with other devices that maybe can accept that over USB, that we can make live hardware effects on. But I built the HyperFX template for the M8 tracker because the M8 tracker was coming out in stereo out, and I just really wanted something to give me performance effects. There's some performance stuff you can do with the M8. You can use a MIDI controller to control parameters, but it won't be relative, so it won't be like adding or subtracting the way that you would want it to be if you had encoders, like the way it does with an Electron box. Like you turn the encoder and it just starts off where you're at instead of catching and then changing the resolution of the encoder, or changing the depth of the encoder value. And I find that difficult to perform with the way that I do with Electron. So I built a template that made it so I could play with time and kind of move things, jumble things, distort things, and just grind the sound. And it's a lot more experimental, but I think it's fun and it sounds cool and unique. So check it out. That's patreon.com/EZBOT if you want to check out the HyperFX template, or coffee.com/EZBOT. You can get it there too. I've been on the polyend since the OG tracker. I like the flexibility of the tables on the mate. Yeah, the polyend tracker, man, I really do like the polyend tracker. I feel like there's like this, you either do this or you do this. And I understand that. And because buying one or buying the other, like, they're expensive, right? So like you are kind of having to like, oh, which one do I want? Because this is $700 and this is $900 or $800 or whatever. It's just so much money. And we're all kind of just like thinking about our money lately, I think, more so than ever. And so making music hasn't changed. We still want to make music, but we're, you know, being a little more considerate towards our pocket. But it's hard, you know, it's a hard debate. It really is. It depends on the perspective you like. Do you like holding it in your hand? Do you want to use the larger Tracker Plus? It has more features, I guess, so to speak. Mastering features, more audio editing type features in it. But as far as sequencer features go, it has less. So if you're more into the sequencer side of things, I'd say like the FX or the FX lanes on the M8 is what I'm thinking of. But the M8 Tracker's probably got a better sequencer, I think, than the Polyon Tracker. But the Polyon Tracker has a bigger suite of sample editing features. Despite them not being real time, they are. Same with the M8s. The M8's sampling editing features are not also real time. You can't do that, you know, with effects commands or something. You save a sample, you use a sample, but there's a lot more in the Polyon Tracker that you can do within it. However, it feels a little slow sometimes, but yeah. We're just getting into, I'm getting in the weeds on that one. You really have to try them both and see which one you like the best. All right, folks, I'm gonna not do 2 hours like I usually do. I'm gonna cut it a little bit short today because I think I did what I wanted to do. I really wanted to show this off and show off how cool it is that you can do this and make this comparison to the Octatrack, because I compare everything to the Octatrack, and if you watch this channel at all, you probably also like and compare things to the Octatrack. Thank you for hanging out. I hope everybody has a fantastic holiday if you support and or celebrate or whatever, Christmas Eve, whatever other holidays you might support at this time of the year. Happy holiday to you. I hope you have a great time, spend time with your family or whatever. I don't know what else to say about that. I don't have super strong feelings about holidays myself, but I hope everybody does have a nice one. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT and sign up for the Patreon, and that will support this channel directly. You can also just subscribe to this channel, and that will support this channel directly by boosting my videos in the algorithm. There's affiliate links down below. There's not one for the M8 Tracker. I don't think that'll ever be a thing, but you can visit the Discord, my Discord, which is free to join. And after you've been there for a little while and had some conversation, you'll gain access to the marketplace, which is a thriving marketplace. You'll often find M8 Trackers in that marketplace. For real. You'll also find them in the M8 Discord. So if you're interested in those, you also find Polyon Trackers in both those, my Discord and the M8 Discord. So I highly recommend you join that. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support and hanging out on the channel. All these years, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing live streams once, twice a week for a very long time. I've made a ton of videos this year. I'm not done with 2025 yet, so we're going to have more. So we'll do a end cap of 2025 maybe. But yeah, you're great. Thanks for hanging out. This is the mate.